Buonasera a tutti. Good evening and welcome to the Italian Radio Hour. Io sono Viviana and I would like to welcome back our regular listeners and also welcome any new listeners. Also, be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook at Italian Radio Hour and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch up on any past video interviews. Vorrei dare il benvenuto ai nostri ascoltatori da tutto il mondo. Grazie per essere con noi anche oggi mentre continuiamo il nostro viaggio per l'Italia e la cultura italiana. In this episode, we will explore the power of theater to cross cultures, languages, and histories. Our focus will be the work of legendary American playwright August Wilson, whose extraordinary cycle of plays and chronicles 10 decades of African American life in the United States. Wilson's stories are deeply rooted in the Hill District in Pittsburgh, yet there are themes of family, identity, migration, struggle, and resilience speak to audiences anywhere. One of Wilson's most celebrated plays, Jitney, has recently been brought to the Italian stage through an international collaboration known as the Wilson's Project. And now, in a remarkable cultural exchange, this Italian production is traveling to Pittsburgh, where it will be performed May 8th through May 10th. So what happens when a uniquely American story is reimagined through an Italian theatrical lens? How do you translate not only the language, but also the rhythm, humor, and emotional depth of Wilson's characters? To explore these questions, I'm joined by two extraordinary guests. Professor Lina Insana, Associate Professor of Italian at the University of Pittsburgh, whose work explores migration, cultural translation, and Italian studies. And Italian director Renzo Carbonera, who is bringing Jitney to the stage with a cast that reflects the multicultural realities of contemporary Italian society. Together, we'll talk about storytelling, translation, migration, and why August Wilson's voice continues to resonate across cultures and across continents. So don't go anywhere, ma prima pubblicità. Parli italiano? Do you want to learn, improve, or master your Italian? Istituto Mondo Italiano can help. Located in the heart of Regent Square, Mondo Italiano offers small group classes and one-on-one private tutoring in person or online to help you learn Italian in no time. Visit us online at istitutomondoitaliano.org. Welcome both to Lina and Renzo. It's a true pleasure to have you together at the same place at the same time. How are you?
Oh, thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here and joining you, and I'm very happy to talk again with Lina, which is a longtime friend, I would say now.
Same. It's very nice to be in this conversation still.
Lina, I actually would like to start with you to give an idea to the listeners who might be hearing August Wilson's name for the first time, why his work is so important in American theater, and perhaps also share some insights on the historical context of Pittsburgh in 1970s, a period marked by industrial decline and social change.
Sure, I'm happy to give a very brief overview of that. I think August Wilson is acknowledged to be one of the great American playwrights because his work is so expansive. His century, what's known as his century cycle, dedicates a different play to each of the decades of the last century. With all of its historical and socioeconomic and cultural context. 9 of those 10 plays were set in Wilson's home, Pittsburgh, and specifically the Hill District, where he grew up. Those plays have been performed on Broadway. They earned him the Pulitzer. They became a training ground for generations of really excellent and important African-American actors, producers, directors, playwrights in their own right. And just to briefly talk about the 70s, I hope that we'll have the opportunity to talk more about the 70s as the context of Jitney, but I'll just say that Jitney is set in the 1970s in a really catastrophic moment for the city of Pittsburgh and the region in economic terms, but through the lens of the Hill District and the displacement, the struggle, the challenges of living everyday lives amid global transformation and dynamics.
Would you be able, for people, again, that might not be familiar with Pittsburgh, what the Hill District represents and what were the dynamics? Again, take us, if you can, depict for us the neighborhood as it was, with also what it represented, the struggles, but also it's become was the center of music and jazz. So again, trying to illustrate the significance of the Hill District for people that are not from here, from Pittsburgh.
The Hill District was a hub of culture, as you said, music, jazz, everyday culture, everyday lived culture. I mean, it was a real neighborhood, documented, yes, by Wilson in the theatrical sense, but also documented by another amazing cultural figure named Jitney Harris, the great African-American photographer, and also, of course, by the African-American newspaper, the Pittsburgh Courier. So we have amazing documentation of what this neighborhood was and how it lived and how it breathed. Unfortunately, urban renewal, for which Pittsburgh was an unfortunate national model, destroyed most of that living built environment, and with it the vibrancy of the community that lived there. That's a kind of academic take on the Hill. I'm also a native Pittsburgher, and so I can say that growing up in the 70s, a lot of that vibrancy was just masked over, was not talked about in the way that I hope we're talking about it increasingly in Pittsburgh, and I hope that that this play will allow us to talk about in increasing ways. But I'm also interested to know about Renzo's take on the Hill. He might be, he's definitely a stronger expert on the Hill District than I am.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if I'm an expert. In any case, I'm a lover, I must say, of the city. First of all, of Pittsburgh. First time I went to Pittsburgh was in 2019, and it was because Lina, who organizes the Italian Film Festival there, invited me. It was like a network of film festivals across America, across the United States, and I have been invited to Pittsburgh as well. And Pittsburgh was, in fact, the last stop of that tour. I did a long tour in the United States, touching many cities. And by the way, I asked to be in Pittsburgh because I wanted to see Pittsburgh, as I am a longtime Pittsburgh Steelers fan from Italy. So I watched the games here, and I was fascinated by this city because I knew its industrial history, its post-industrial history, but also I knew it being an important sports city, not only related to football, but sports in general. And I feel this sort of passion a lot. So I've been invited to the festival. I came over to Pittsburgh, and that's where I discovered Wilson. I did not know about Wilson because August Wilson has never been translated into Italian, has never been performed in Italy. Actually, he has never been performed in continental Europe. So usually people don't know about him. Maybe somebody has seen on Netflix the movies taken from his plays, but nobody has really seen a play on a theater, or nobody has ever performed it here in Italy. So what I did was, on the flight back from Pittsburgh to Venice, where I live, I read Jitney. This was in spring 2019, so it was about 7 years ago. And when I came back, when I got off the plane, I said, okay, let's see if we can do something with this. Let's see if we can do something which is in a sort of way new, something which has never been done. And it was a long process. It was a long process, and Lina is there from the beginning because we started, of course, with the translation, which is something which we have done in collaboration between the University of Pittsburgh, the University of Padova, which is the university where I graduated back in 2004, and in collaboration with the US Embassy in Italy. So we started this process, which was first of all a translation process, and then all the rest came. And yeah, it took some years, and now we are kind of bringing this back home. We're bringing this back to the United States.
So Jitney was the first one, if I remember correctly, from when you came back in 2024, you were indeed sharing the story. You probably devoured it on that plane. You didn't put it down. And then you started to read more of Wilson's works. And so what drew you direct to Jitney to choose Jitney to be indeed the one that would indeed kick off this amazing initiative?
Well, let's say, first of all, because it was the first, so it was his first, the first play, the play which made Wilson famous, but and made him discovered because Chris Rawson, who was like a professor at University of Pittsburgh and the theater critic at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, wrote about Jitney when it first came out, and that, made it possible that Wilson got attention on national level, on the local and national level. So it was his first play. The second reason is the play is set at the end of the 70s and what has been written at the beginning of the 80s, which is when I was born. I was born in 1980, and it is also that period of time when Italy, from being a country from which people migrated from, became a country where people migrated to. Mm-hmm. So, and in this community, which was starting to exist, which was like immigrants to Italy, I then went to look for those people who would be the actors and actresses I could work with this project, because this is not only the first time that a translated August Wilson play gets produced, gets staged. It's also the first time that on a stage in Italy, there are, and there will be only Black Italian actors and actresses, only second and third generation Italians. And their parents migrated to Italy in those years. Their parents migrated to Italy in the beginning, started migrating to Italy from the beginning of the 80s. And they were born here then, but their parents come from African or South American countries.
Mm-hmm. So this question is actually, we'll start with Lina, and obviously Renzo, you can elaborate more, because you clearly indicated that in this time we are looking also, we can draw a parallel of Italy moving from immigration to immigration. And obviously that brings social economic changes that people have to grapple with. And these experiences, I believe, still resonate in contemporary audiences. So, Lina, if you don't mind elaborating on this, and also from the academic perspective of the importance of the meaningful importance of exploring these topics with Italian audiences.
I'm not sure that I've lived in a period where the exploration of this topic of migration is more important. I think we are living in a moment when we have to talk about migration, not as some exceptional crisis, but as a fact of modern life. This is what I tell my students all the time, every time we talk about migration to Italy, from Italy to the United States, from the United States. I think that as at this moment in our history, it's really important for us to look at moments and places of connection. Where do migration stories connect to each other, and what is there in the overlap between different histories and different languages and different specific circumstances of migration? So I hope that begins to approach the question.
Yeah, well, I want to add this because I can add my personal experience with migration to that. Because my father was one of these people who migrated from Italy to Germany, and in the end of the 60s, where he met my mother, and then I was born, and they decided to go back to Italy because the economic situation was going better in Italy. So they made this move. My family made this move in the sense that leaving Italy back in the 60s to look for a better life. The product of this movement was in fact, and then me and my sister, and then they decided to come back because the situation in Italy became better. And as they came back, also a lot of people from poorer countries decided to move to Italy, and their sons and daughters are now the people I am working with on this project. So it's kind of a circle where I think I can really understand when Lina says this fact that it's all about the movement, and I think even America, the country, United States, has been created by this movement of people, and so it's very important for me to have done this project, to have done this play here, also in order to give visibility to these new generations of artists in this country. They are Italians they were born in Italy, but usually here in Italy, Black people are known as in sports. We have a lot of known and famous Italian Black sportsmen and sportswomen. We don't have so many known artists, actors, actresses, musicians, writers, playwrights. But it's still to come. It's still in the beginning, and we are at this phase. We are in this moment where this is beginning, and we are testifying it in some sort.
We will dive more into the details of Jitney, both from the translation part of it and also indeed the performance and the casting. But if I remember correctly, Renzo, you came back to Pittsburgh in 2021 and you had a very symbolic experience. You met with Chris Rosen, Constanza Romero Wilson. Can you please share that experience with us and what it represented to you?
Yeah, I met Chris, I met Constanza because she was there in Pittsburgh for those days. It was very interesting because actually we all remember those years were the years of COVID. And so we were there was a lockdowns, we were forced at home. And it was basically not possible for more than a year and a half to travel to the United States. And the week after travel visas were allowed again, I took a plane and went to Pittsburgh, which was November 2021. And I met Constanza, and it was a very beautiful meeting with her because we talked a lot about August. The Hillman Library at Pitt just acquired the archive. They were still doing some, they were
Processing.
Yes, they were working on the archive. It was still all in boxes, let's say. And I was one of the first person who was allowed to dig into these boxes and look for material which could be helpful. And I was just putting my hands into the boxes and coming out with notes and books or even vinyls or music cassettes, which were in August Wilson's private archive, and it was great. It was simply great because it helped me a lot. Another important encounter on that on that journey to Pittsburgh for me was one evening I went to Mark Souther's house, who is the owner of the theater which is presenting us in Pittsburgh in May, and we watched a Steelers game at his home. And then it was late in the evening, and he called a Jitney to ride me back home. So that I had this Jitney experience. Yeah, and it was part of, it was part of all of this. Everything was like matching in a certain way. I felt like everything was matching, and the interesting thing was that in this 15 minutes ride from the Hill District to my hotel, which was downtown, this person, the jitney rider, he was telling me all of his life, and how jitneying saved his life, because he had like problems with legal problems, and he went to prison. He got out of prison, and he didn't know what to do with his life. And then he got this job, and he said, becoming a jitney driver saved my life. And it was all popping up in my mind. I said, no, I have definitely to do this. To do this.
Lina, now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, the challenges and the opportunities of the translation, including explaining to, again, non-local people what a jitney is, and what decisions the team has taken as far as keeping jitney versus trying to come up with a translation. So
I can talk a little bit about the translation from the Pittsburgh perspective, and that was that a little bit before Renzo came back in November of 21, he told me that this had been his pandemic project. The reading and the processing and the imagining of what this play could look like on an Italian stage. And I think already by November of 2021, Renzo had contacted a translation faculty member at the University of Padova, who had connections at Ca' Foscari in Venice, if I remember correctly, and a translator who needed a really substantial, meaty master's project for her degree, agreed to take on this translation. And that's Angela Solda,
Yes.
who I think had already completed a draft by the time by the November 2021 visit to
Yes.
Pittsburgh. Yes, and I happened to be teaching a course on I regularly teach a workshop on translation to our advanced undergraduates here at Pitt, and I happened to be teaching that class at that time. If memory serves, we synced it up so that it could be in line with the timing of Angela's translation. And they reviewed big parts of the translation and commented on it, and then met with Renzo during his visit, and also interacted with Angela via Zoom. She visited our classroom as well virtually, and gave her feedback, but also I think provided a really important sounding board for Angela. So Angela herself had questions for the students about how did this sound, and the students, though not perfectly bilingual, are mostly from this region and had really excellent, I think, questions and feedback for Angela and for the process in general.
Yeah, I think one of the main issues in the translation was, getting into this Wilson grammar, which is like, this vernacular English, and also during this long monologues, also keeping the rhythm. And so the repetitions sometimes, the repetition of words. And in fact, there were the translation work, in my opinion, was the first step, important step, because it was like the first step of translation. So with Angela, we did the translation, and we confronted each other with the students and all that. There were people reading it, but then there was a second step, which was during the first rehearsals, because at that point the whole play has been read one to each other several times, and it's where we also worked on this rhythm, worked on this fact of keeping the rhythm, of keeping the sort of slam poetry monologues, which are August Wilson's monologues, and that is something which has been done with the actors. Um, and the text changed a little bit when it became oral, because it is a really oral way of writing, the one Wilson has. And then, of course, there are some aspects which are, even for many audiences, especially an Italian audience, then more difficult to understand, which is like, for instance, what is a jitney? So like this sort of making it, clear what it is, which is like, let's say, a not official taxi or cab service, which is particular to the Black communities in the cities of the Midwest, let's say, to keep it, to make a description of it. But there are many ways to describe it. Somebody would describe it as Uber before Uber.
What are some of the dynamics that you wanted to keep on stage about, a jitney station, right? Behind me, probably you can't really see it, but I was trying to show the yellow telephone, and then the choice of your colors, at least for the production that took place in Vicenza. So if you wanted to give an essence and the flavors, the colors, the
Yes.
dynamics of a jitney station, take us to what you would imagine it would be like.
Yeah, well, and by the way, you have a yellow phone, but you also have a projection of the Hill District from above behind yourself. But anyway, um, I think I must say this is also the way we will present it in our American small tour, which is, I think, very different than a usual way of presenting or producing theater, Wilsonian theater in America. Because usually when I saw August Wilson plays, or from other American and Black American playwrights, the setting is usually very realistic. While in this case, we are working on a setting which is mainly abstract. So there will be minimal setup, minimal props, minimal scenery, and most of the scene is taken by the lights, by projections, and by minimal elements which are in the colors of black and yellow, which are the colors of Pittsburgh. And this is let's say a sort of European way of making theater of directing theater, which is a bit different than the American way. And I'm very, very interested to see how the American audience will understand it, will see this, because it's a different it's a different way. It's a way Wilson has never been staged, I think.
Lina, would you like to also comment on you have seen the performance in Vicenza by chance, or is this going to be a first time for you as well?
I had the great fortune of being in Vicenza for the I guess the soft premiere
Yeah.
of the play's production. So this will not be my first time seeing it, but these will be new actors, and I'm sure that tweaks have been made to the production. So I'm excited to see Jitney 2.0, as it were. The set, the minimalist set, for me really worked very well, because I'm not a theater. I'm not a scholar of theater, I should say, but the minimalist set for me helped me to keep two things in my mind at the same time, and that was the very specific details of the setting in the Hill District in the 1970s, but also the universals of these characters struggling with very human reactions and circumstances. The set facilitated that that kind of dichotomy of Jitney. I think audiences will agree. I hope so.
It might be almost like a first time again, because the audience is different, the setting is different, and well, we're gonna hear from our sponsors, so we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Do you love Italian food? Want to learn the secrets of homemade pasta, sauces, and traditional recipes, just like Nana used to make? At Mondo Italiano, our authentic Italian cooking classes bring the taste of Italy right to Pittsburgh. From fresh pasta to regional specialties, every class is a delicious journey through Italy's culinary traditions. Spots fill quickly, so reserve your seat today. Call us at 412-478-2681 or find us online. Mondo Italiano, where Italy comes alive one dish at a time.
Un caffè, per favore. For more than 35 years, Pittsburgh has started its mornings with La Prima Espresso. From freshly roasted beans from around the world to the perfect espresso or cappuccino, every cup is crafted with care. Stop by and enjoy the warmth of our baristas and familiar faces, or bring the taste of Italy home. Order online today at laprima.com. La Prima Espresso, Pittsburgh's coffee. We are back with Professor Lina Insana from the University of Pittsburgh and Italian director Renzo Carbonera. We are talking about the premiere of the Italian translation of Jitney here in Pittsburgh, May 8th through the 10th. And it's going to be an extraordinary production in its significance. And one other element that Renzo, you alluded to before that I would like to spend a couple of minutes is your casting choices. And what would be the typical situation of Italian people of color from African descent and so forth in the movie industry in Italy as it stands, and also what kind of roles we would typically see them in, or would there be main roles, marginal roles, and how your choice, your philosophy to go about casting is groundbreaking as well.
Well, I must say it was, I mean, there are not many people with which could match, let's say, for an August Wilson play, means Black Italians, which are doing this professionally. I would say between female and male Italian actors, actresses with African origin, we have like about 20, not more. In all roles, in all possible roles, I mean, they usually work with small roles in TV or cinema or theater, minor roles. Usually, they are the only in the single production they're working on. They are the only one who is not white Italian, and they don't have, as I say, don't have main roles usually. The people I worked with in the first presentation 3 years ago, and those I'm working with here in this presentation, never worked with other Black people in their life before working in this production. So this is another point. But those I'm working with now are also probably the most famous Black Italian actors and actresses. For instance, one of them, he is the first Black actor who got the opportunity to take the Italian, one of the most famous Italian theater schools, the Silvio D'Amico Theater School in Rome. Another one, the female role is taken by Rosanna Sparapano, who is the first woman actress who did the Piccolo School, the theater school in Milan, which is the second. The Silvio D'Amico and the Piccolo are the two main theater schools in Italy. Miguel Gobbo-Diaz, he was the first ever Black Italian actor who got a leading role on an Italian TV series. The first and only by now. He's the first and only Black Italian actor who got a main role on an Italian TV show. So there are, it was not easy to find the right people to do this, because doing an August Wilson play is not easy. I mean, it's like you have to be like a very good actor for that, and you have to be a very good actor and to have a lot of experience, or the possibility to gain experience, and that is not always the case here. So I hope we started something which is like we put a seed in the ground which can flourish, and I think this is the right project to call it as a seed for theater and for audiovisual as well, because I'm a director coming from film and documentary, so I am from the audiovisual world initially. So and I came to theater.
Lina, also, if you want to comment on that from the academic perspective, the advancements, or maybe the advancement is not really the correct word, that the study of Black Italians and Black Europe has occurred in the last decade, and how we can continue to be a springboard for more of that.
Yeah, I'll say two things on this topic. The first thing I want to say is how important it is that Arenzo used the metaphor of a seed that will grow, that will blossom. I'll return to that other metaphor that I used a few minutes ago at the beginning of our conversation. This is a pipeline. This is a professional cultural pipeline for Black Italian actors. And I think it's really important that pipeline have the opportunity to echo the kind of pipeline that August Wilson's plays have become in the American context. So I think that's a wonderful thing. More directly to your question, Viviana, I'll say that it's happened a number of times over the last couple of decades that American, but also other Anglo academics have a tiny role, but an amplifying role in nudging Italian culture, nudging Italian media, nudging Italian academia into certain fields and into the analysis of certain texts, or into an appreciation of certain texts and certain phenomena. And I feel like, maybe the most famous one is Ferrante Fever, right? Elena Ferrante's books were translated and became wildly popular in an American context, and that popularity ricocheted back to a kind of slow discovery or rediscovery in Italy. I think that the study and awareness of Black Italian culture in all of its forms has a little bit in common with Ferrante Fever, and that is that hopefully by teaching topics, by teaching texts, by teaching films in our classrooms, which we've been doing for a while now at Pitt at least, but we're not alone. We have excellent colleagues around the country who are teaching on Black Italia. Hopefully that awareness will create the same kind of ricochet effect and will bounce back to Italian classrooms and Italian media spaces and cultural spaces.
And also, I would like to comment that Italy is changing itself as far as the makeup of the population. So here is new Italians, let's call it new Italians, but they've been there now for a couple of different generations, finally have a choice to, one, represent themselves as the actors on stage, but also being represented as the audience can see finally their stories being told versus just read them in the book. And I think this is also something that Italy has to work on quite a bit to recognize that there are many different flavors of being Italian. And again, the people have been there that because of citizenship rules, we won't go there, might still have unfortunately, a little stigma of not being recognized as Italian. So, talking about the whole Wilson project, same question for both of you. If there is indeed maybe during the research process, the translation process, the staging process, a moment, something that you felt especially moved by Wilson's work, or that was significant to you individually. So let's take it to Renzo first.
Well, I mean, for me, as I said, I didn't know anything about Wilson before coming to Pittsburgh the first time. So for me, the fact is that I was always been very during my previous, let's say, director career, very interested to Black American culture, to Black American cinema, to Black American actors, to Black American music as well. Let's say jazz, blues, hip hop, this kind of things. I have a lot of, I mean, I have in front of me, there's my vinyl box, and I think that 80% of the vinyls there are, yeah, Nina Simone and Public Enemy, whatever, all these kind of things. So Black music. So finding an angle, a theater angle, a cultural angle through theater was something which happened in the very moment where I also wanted to find an artistic angle in theater in my artistic work. So I wanted to explore theater, and at the same time, when I started to want this, I discovered August Wilson. So it came together in the same time, and it was just, it should have been like that. I just feel it should have been like that, and it happened exactly like that. So I went over to theater with this, and now 5 years later, 6 years later, I opened last year my own production company, which produces film, television, and theater. And let's say the main artist which we are producing right now is Andrea Pennacchi, which is one of the most famous Italian theater actors and authors. Yes, so I mean, and I have to, I don't know if that's true, but I want to think that August Wilson played a big part in this, and that the Jitney, which I read on the plane back from Pittsburgh to Venice, was the moment where everything started, all this started and began. Yes. Oh, and by the way, we're sorry, Lina, then I leave it to you. By the way, apart from this Jitney production with Miguel Gobbo-Diaz, we are working also on other productions which we will produce and with him. So this actor, which I discovered through Jitney, will be produced with his own work, and so we will bring it to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
From my small perspective, I'll say two things. In terms of being really moved, talking to the actors of the first Jitney that I saw in Vicenza 3 years ago, having them tell me how important it was to them to be in an all-Black Italian cast, which it wasn't only the first time they were in an all-Black Italian cast. It was the first time they were in a cast with any other people of color. That was incredibly moving to me personally, and confirmed everything that Renzo had talked to me about, and that it confirmed all of my expectations for what an important event this was, and this was going to be. I'll mention a second thing just very quickly. Last week, Pittsburgh hosted a large academic literary conference, the Northeast Modern Language Association conference. And so a lot of people came to Pittsburgh for the first time, like Renzo had back in April of 2019, but came to the city as scholars of Pittsburgh, or as scholars of something in Pittsburgh, or artists or writers from Pittsburgh. And in my panel, I met two young women who have worked on Pittsburgh from the perspective of the urban renewal of the Hill and August Wilson's theater. And they came to Pittsburgh for the first time, just like Renzo did, to kind of rediscover it on the ground. And that was really moving too, to see these young scholars get to know Pittsburgh in a new way, in their own way, after years of studying the city and its culture on their own.
That's very interesting. I personally have expectations of finding a story that is going to create empathy, that is going to explore the family relations. We do have a deep dynamic between a father and a son there, but also don't want to have expectations. I know I will be laughing, I will be crying, but I want to also allow the characters to guide me through, to see the world through their eyes. So that's pretty much what I just sit back and relax and just allow, what does it mean to see the world, live the world through their glasses. Any last comments before we go into closing, including upcoming events? Lina, you're busy with the film festival is coming up. Renzo, when are you coming to Pittsburgh, and what else exciting do you have in the next 2 or 3 weeks before we get to see you? So, Renzo, first, do you have any additional comments or anything that you would like to share?
Well, we are that's where you were saying while you were saying this about you want to be, to see how the feelings get on stage and how the feelings which are described in and narrated by the play are hitting you. While you were saying this, I was thinking about the fact that next week I'm going to move to Sardinia because the rehearsals start with the new cast. And so we are going to stay for over a month in Sardinia, in a village in the middle of Sardinia, in the middle of nowhere. So it will be like a retreat, and I will stay there for over a month with the cast and work on that and work on these feelings, And there's no better place to do this than an isolated village in the middle of Sardinia, believe me, where I'm not even sure I have internet there. But anyway, I hope I will, but it's not so important if I don't. And which is also a way I do work when I do films, like forcing the actors, the actresses in a space where they don't have much contact to the outer space, so they can dive into themselves. And then when we finish, we will have our premieres in Sardinia. We have 4 of them. And then we move on the 28th of April, we move to the United States, and we're going to do St. Louis, Cleveland, and then Pittsburgh from the 8th to the 10th of May, as you mentioned. And then we go back, and then we start, we will start to work on the 2026-2027 season on Italian theaters, because Sardinia Teatro, this company which took over the project now, is one of the companies which does more tours on national and international levels in Italy. So they are very, very known here because their plays tour a lot around the country, around Italy, but they also tour a lot, for instance, in Eastern Europe, in Northern Europe, in Asia. They always go to China, Japan, Korea. So who knows? Maybe we can bring our Wilson to Korea or to China.
Lina, tell us a little bit, anticipate what the audience will be enjoying in the next 3 weeks, starting with March 26th, so just a little bit, and then we'll keep the suspense. People have to come to the movies.
Yeah, so in the Italian program, we're busy with the last preparations for the Italian Film Festival. We have 8 films, including one documentary, which we've been committed to from the beginning of the film festival in Pittsburgh, which will include a director visit, which is, of course, how Renzo first came to Pittsburgh. So we'll host the director of a really interesting documentary about Italy's first female filmmaker. And that will be towards the end of the festival. Our last film in the festival will also take us to Sardinia, and we're really excited about this slate this year, and we're excited to welcome people back into Frick Fine Arts Auditorium. And then once the festival wraps up, we will get ready for Jitney 2.0 and Renzo's return.
Well, I just want to add this, Lina, I didn't stop doing movies, so.
Just a little hint that we'll see Renzo's production coming back to the film festival at some point in the near future. Just stay tuned.
Just saying.
So as we wrap up today's conversation, it is clear that Jitney is more than a play. It's a bridge across time, place, and culture. And from the streets of 1970s Pittsburgh to the theaters of Italy to August Wilson stories remind us of the power of human connection, resilience, and empathy. We do hope that this production inspires Italian audiences, but also those that will be coming to attend the production in Pittsburgh, to laugh, to reflect, and to feel deeply alongside these characters. And it sparks curiosity and sparks conversation on these topics. So I cannot thank you enough, Lina and Renzo, for finding time for this conversation. Your very busy schedules, your insights, and also wanted to thank the listeners for joining us. And again, we'll see you in the theater on March the 8th, 9th, and 10th. And also, Mark has been very generous by extending a discount code to those listening to the Italian Radio Hour and students of Istituto Mondo Italiano. And anyone, use coupon code BECKER, and you will indeed enjoy a discount on your performance. So come, bring the family, brings the village, bring everyone. It will be definitely an amazing experience. So unfortunately, our time together is up, and il Big Ben ha detto stop. So it's time for us to say arrivederci e alla prossima. We want to thank you for tuning in into the program. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you have any topics you would like us to address, please contact us at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And remember, if you or any of your family and friends have missed a prior episode or would like to listen to this episode again, subscribe to the Italian Radio Hour on YouTube or where you catch your favorite podcasts. And don't forget to share this podcast, because sharing is caring. Again, I would like to thank my guest, Professor Lina Insana, Italian Director Renzo Carbonera, our sponsors, Istituto Mondo Italiano and La Prima Espresso. Until next time, alla prossima. Ciao, ciao. See you in the theater.